Celeste Rivas as the person who was found dead at a Hollywood tow yard in early September in the trunk of singer David's Tesla. The medical examiner is still trying to determine the cause of her death.
Why the hell would you go in Elon's on-road spaceship that records everything and go do a crime and then leave the body in the trunk? It probably got you chopping her up. It probably got all type of heart.
When investigators popped open the front trunk of a Tesla in Los Angeles on September 8th, they were bracing themselves for just another brutal crime scene. But what they found inside sent shockwaves through the city and the internet. It was the decomposed remains of a 14-year-old girl named Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And at first, detectives thought this was going to be a straightforward murder case. That was until they started digging into the social media of the Tesla's owner, a rising music star named David. What they uncovered wasn't just disturbing. It was a digital diary of obsession, grooming, and premeditated violence, laid out in plain sight for years while millions of people scrolled past thinking it was just dark humor. This wasn't just a crime, it was a confession broadcasted through memes, TikTok posts, and song lyrics, hiding in plain view while nobody realized what was really happening.
Like, if the mom of the victim knew that she was dating someone named David, did she not know his age? And I'm not blaming her specifically, but it seems like the people around her knew a bit about it, like the guy from the Reddit post who apparently knew that she ran off.
The body in the Tesla was only the beginning. Celeste's remains were found stuffed into bags, badly decomposed, and investigators quickly realized this wasn't a heat-of-the-moment killing. Whoever was behind this had planned it for a long time. And when they linked the car back to David, the investigation took a chilling turn. Most people knew David as the breakout artist who blew up with viral hits like Romantic Homicide and Here With Me. Millions of streams, global tours, sponsorships. On the surface, he was just another young artist riding the wave of internet fame. But the deeper police dug, the more his TikTok activity revealed an entirely different side of him. It wasn't just edgy content or trying to shock people for attention.
One that says, me watching her scream after I poured boiling water on her after she told a boy happy birthday because why you happy, he made it another year. Just weird stuff that's super weird to repost, especially under this context.
It was a roadmap of what he would eventually do to Celeste. One of the first posts that stood out was deceptively simple. A video of someone chopping raw chicken captioned, "Me if I see her talk with other dudes." At the time, people laughed it off as toxic relationship humor, the kind of thing TikTok is full of. But when Celeste's body was discovered dismembered, that post hit different. This wasn't some joke about jealousy. It was a blueprint for murder, posted publicly for anyone to see. And it didn't stop there. David had reposted the infamous American Psycho nail gun scene with a caption about being jealous and utterly disgusted at the thought of his girlfriend's past. That's not just teenage angst or overblown emotion. That's someone telegraphing violent intentions through popular culture references. Every meme, every caption, every repost suddenly looked like pieces of a confession once investigators connected the dots. But the creepiest clue of all was sitting right on his profile the entire time. His TikTok display picture, a bloody, blindfolded Hello Kitty. At first glance, people probably thought it was just some weird, edgy aesthetic choice. But Celeste loved Hello Kitty. She wore Hello Kitty sandals, carried a Hello Kitty keychain, and her family said the character was one of her favorites. This wasn't random. This was a twisted trophy, a predator putting his victim's favorite character on display as if mocking her memory. And it gets darker. Back in February 2024, he'd posted a video captioned, "When your card declines at therapy and they bring in that one Hello Kitty girl you met in 2021. At the time, nobody thought much of it. But investigators later realized this was him admitting he'd met Celeste online years earlier when she was just 11 years old. That Hello Kitty girl wasn't a joke. It was Celeste. The timeline painted a disturbing picture. Reports show that Celeste first came into contact with David online around 2021. She was barely 11 years old at the time. What followed was a years-long grooming process, carefully documented across Discord chats, TikTok reposts, and unreleased music. Screenshots later recovered from his Discord server showed him isolating Celeste, building trust, and slowly pulling her deeper into a secret relationship. There was even physical evidence that tied them together. Both had tattoos on their right index fingers, Celeste's done in red ink. Investigators and her family described it as a mark of ownership, a chilling symbol of how much control he held over her. But it didn't stop with tattoos. Police found an unreleased track titled Celeste_Demo Unfin, recorded in late 2023, with lyrics that referenced her by name, along with disturbing lines about obsession and permanence. It wasn't artistic expression, it was a confession set to music. By April 2024, Celeste was reported missing by her family. She was only 13 at the time, but police didn't treat it as an emergency. They assumed it was another runaway case since she had left home before. That misstep cost her life. Investigators now believe she disappeared to be with David, who continued building his career publicly while secretly keeping her under his control. Fast forward to September 2025, and her decomposed body was discovered in his Tesla. The vehicle had been parked near the Hollywood Hills, less than 2 blocks from where he was staying at the time. It sat there for days, stinking up the neighborhood, before being towed to an impound lot where workers finally reported the smell. What shocked detectives most was how calculated it all seemed. This wasn't someone panicking after a fight. Celeste's condition showed clear signs of premeditation, with dismemberment that matched the fantasies he'd been posting online for years. And here's the part that made this case unlike anything law enforcement had seen before: the Tesla itself. Modern Teslas are basically computers on wheels. They track everything: location, usage data, even internal footage. That meant David's choice to use his own vehicle in connection with the crime wasn't just sloppy, it was catastrophic. The very car he abandoned became one of the strongest pieces of evidence against him. Investigators are now analyzing data logs, GPS history, and any onboard camera footage to reconstruct exactly what happened. But what really sealed the narrative wasn't the car, it was his online trail. Every TikTok repost, every caption, every song lyric formed a breadcrumb path leading straight back to him. The digital evidence was overwhelming. As news broke, the public's reaction was explosive. Fans who had once romanticized his dark lyrics and moody persona suddenly saw them in a new light. Online forums filled with evidence threads connecting his posts to Celeste's murder. Some fans said they couldn't even listen to his music anymore without hearing it as a confession. Labels, sponsors, and tour promoters cut ties overnight. His world tour was canceled. Crocs and Hollister scrubbed campaigns featuring him. Even Interscope paused promotions for his deluxe album. And then came the haunting detail that pushed people over the edge. His last Instagram post promoting that album was made on September 7th, the day before Celeste's body was discovered. That was also her birthday. She should have been celebrating turning 14 with her family. Instead, her remains were rotting inside his Tesla, and he was posting about his music. The timing wasn't coincidence. It was deliberate, and it left the internet sickened. Law enforcement quickly realized this case would set a precedent. Traditionally, investigators look at physical evidence, eyewitnesses, and standard behavioral profiles. But David's case proved something new. Social media isn't background noise, it's evidence. His posts weren't just edgy content, they were confessions hidden in plain sight. His TikTok activity mapped out his mindset, his jealousy, his obsession, and even the exact methods he later used on Celeste. This forced a shift in how digital forensics is handled. Social media was no longer just context, it became the smoking gun. For Celeste's family, though, the tragedy is beyond repair. She was a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a friend, described as a vibrant young girl who loved Hello Kitty and had her whole life ahead of her. She was only 14 when her life was stolen. Her family has since started a GoFundMe to cover funeral costs, turning their grief into a desperate attempt to give her a proper goodbye. The most painful part? There were red flags everywhere. Her brother reportedly told police about her relationship with David before she went missing. Teachers suspected something was wrong. Even online communities speculated about their connection. But time and time again, those warnings were ignored. By the time investigators finally pieced it together, it was too late. This case is more than just one artist's downfall. It's a warning about the digital age we live in. When people post violent memes about jealousy, dismemberment, or obsession, maybe it's not just edgy humor. Maybe it's exactly what they plan to do. David turned his grooming, his obsession, and his crime into a twisted online narrative that millions consumed without realizing the truth. His songs like Romantic Homicide once felt like heartbreak anthems. Now they read like confessions set to beats. And for Celeste, the cost of ignoring those signs was her life. Celeste's story should force us all to pay attention, because behind every viral post, every shocking caption, and every moody profile picture, there are real people at stake. In this case, a 14-year-old girl who never got the chance to grow up. The digital breadcrumbs were there all along. They weren't just evidence of a crime, they were a roadmap to it. And now, the world has to face the devastating reality of what happens when red flags are brushed off as entertainment.